Nothing lasts forever in the stock market, and it's something that investors have to deal with. I'm going to show you some examples of that today, and we'll talk about what it means. Does it mean you always have to be looking to sell things? I'll give you a hint. No, you don't. But you just need to understand how the stock market works if you're going to be a participant over a long period of time. I've got a market update as well, and we'll probably jump into that first. Really just have one quick note about the jobs number before we jump over to some examples of nothing really lasts forever in the stock market. Before I begin, I must remind you this is a financial education presentation. You must do your own due diligence before acting on anything you hear in this presentation. More disclaimer information can be found on ankerstarwealth.com, and the opinions expressed are mine alone. We do have the market down about 1% today. This is caused by, and I saw this headline pop up this morning, and I knew immediately what was going to have the dominoes to fall, because you saw this headline of we printed an amazing jobs number. U.S. payrolls rose by 172,000 in May, much more than expected. Now, before I talk about, okay, obviously that's the good news part. There's also some question out there, unfortunately, on just how reliable some of the data is that's coming out of the government right now. Um, I'm sure there's always been a little bit of funny business, maybe, but now a little more than ever, investors are questioning what's going on behind the scenes. Is there pressure behind the scenes to control narratives and things like that, or rates and all that? But payrolls come in much better than expected. And what have we been talking about going back a few months? There's these underlying inflation pressures. Well, if employment is soft, inflation is going to be capped to some extent. It's going to be under pressure to some extent, or it's going to be unsustainable, just in the sense that, well, if consumers literally cannot pay for any of this stuff, then businesses literally cannot raise prices beyond a certain point because no one will pay, right? And that does stifle inflation a little bit. But if payrolls and jobs and employment is remaining much stronger than expected, well, that's going to show that no, actually, these consumers will be able to pony up and pay whatever, and that gives inflation kind of a green light higher. The market doesn't like that. Treasury yields shot higher. Again, that's a little hyperbolic, because if we go look at the 10-year, we're well below where we were in May, and also, we're really not going to see the market too scared of this until we hold really uphold above 5%, and we haven't even touched 5%. We have a long way to go to even get to 5%. So nothing to do on this today, just something to be mindful of. And it's interesting that a good jobs number can be such a concern for those monitoring the inflation environment. Now, if you look at this softness, what did we talk about? So the market down 1%. What did we talk about just yesterday? It's kind of a genius move, I think, by Google going to soak up $40 billion of capital from retail, whatever, public markets, while enthusiasm is at its peak. Now, am I here to say that enthusiasm has peaked just because we're down 1%? Not at all. I think it's going to take a lot for investors to really, for the masses to really have any concerns about this market. If you look at the semiconductor index, it's down a little over 4% today, but that's nothing, right? It's still up 60% year to date. So to get people feeling worry and concern, it's going to take a lot more than a 1% drop in the market on a strong jobs number of all things. So I'm not here to say that enthusiasm has peaked. I do really think, though, that this move by Google to capture max enthusiasm while it lasts is really genius, to front run SpaceX, OpenAI, Anthropic, all very genius. Okay, now, things don't last forever in the market. So we're in the semiconductor rally, of course, Let's just look at a few examples. Meta, in 2021 to 2022, you could not find a more hated stock. People hate Mark Zuckerberg. People don't trust him. It's the worst company. They hate it. But nothing lasts forever. That hate ended up turning into enthusiasm. Oh, and the stock was down 76%. That hate turned into enthusiasm. The stock rallied 700%. And actually, it's been flat now for almost 2 years at this point. So it's been dead money for 2 years, right? It was hated. It was loved. It's been dead money. Okay, that's one stock. Go look at Netflix. Netflix over and over again. It was loved, and then it was hated. Fell 70%. And it's loved, and then hated. Loved. 2018, then hated. Fell probably over 50%. You probably can't see it quite right on that chart. And then it was super loved during COVID, right? Everybody's home. Then it's super hated when the war started. They cut off service to Russia. Super duper hated, right? Revenue flatlined for like 1 quarter. Nope, worst company in the world. We hate it. Oh, actually, that's not such a big deal. It's a durable business. Now we love it. And then now investors hate it again. Nothing lasts forever. Nothing lasts forever. Think of a stock. If there was one stock you would have thought people would hate forever, it'd be AMD. They named it the Advanced Money Destroyer. AMD. They hate the stock. The stock's dead money forever, right? Didn't go anywhere. And of course, when Lisa Su took over, the stock was $2 per share. So generational run, of course. But when I tell you sentiment among the investing community was as negative as anything you could possibly imagine, it was AMD. People you couldn't give this stock away. And now AMD is one of the most beloved stocks in the entire stock market. But just remember, nothing lasts forever. They'll turn on all these stocks for good and bad. They'll love Netflix again. They'll love Meta again. And they'll hate AMD again. That's just the way it works. Now, do you have to? There's a few stocks I do want to show you. I can think of a few. Can you think of any that have never been hated? I've got a few that have some I might own, some I don't, but Costco, I've never seen Costco hated. I've never seen sentiment be really bad toward Costco. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going up all the time, but people who've owned Costco for a long period of time, that you never really think, oh, we hate this, we hate that. Costco is not really hated. Casey is another one. Casey General Stores. I have never seen negative sentiment on Casey. I've never seen negative sentiment on Casey. Just goes straight up, and you never really see negative reports about it. And it is super expensive though right now. I can't figure out why people are paying what they're paying, but they are. Another is Monster Energy. I've never seen that stock hated. Monster Energy, I think it's at new all-time highs even just right now. But, Monster Energy, just a loved stock, never really hated in any meaningful way. Those are 3 I can think of. But generally speaking, a lot of these stocks go through periods of being hated. So does that mean that, I always need to be looking to sell my Meta, sell my Netflix, or sell some other stocks, right? No, not really. Google was super hated, right? And you could have just held Google all the way through. Especially in taxable accounts, it can be best to just let these stories play out over long periods of time. And you don't need to try to maximize your return on every asset in your portfolio at all times, because then you're going to end up finding the things that are, you're going to end up buying the things that are loved too late into that love. And then you're going to have to own it during the hate period where you didn't want to own it during the hate period, right? So you can just own Meta, Google, Netflix. You can own these things while they're loved and while they're hated over long periods of time, and you'll do incredibly well. And then, of course, we can get into another discussion about taxable accounts, ETFs, single stocks, tax advantage accounts. So there's different strategies and things that go into that. I'm just really wanting to hit this idea that nothing lasts forever. And I'm not saying the semiconductor rally is over, but I am saying that they will call it the advanced money destroyer again and something like AMD. And they will hate some of these loved stocks again. We just got to see how that plays out over time. All right. Do you think this 1% drop is going to hold today? Let me look. Where are we at? Yeah, it's looking like it's already bouncing back right now. So who knows? Maybe we end the day green and we rally on. Hey, I hope everyone has a wonderful Friday. Enjoy your weekend. And of course, look forward to talking to you soon.